Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part we started off our journey proper and made our way to Violet City. And now we're in our first real dungeon of the game that we can complete at least. Sprout Tower. Dark Cave is technically the first dungeon in the game, but you can't complete that at this point in time. Only those who reach the top will receive a wonderful move, and that move might be kind of important. Although ultimately optional if you know the layout of the game well enough at least. But you might remember in parts 1 and 2 it was nighttime outside, and it still is right now, and that's good because I need to find a Ghastly in here. They only show up at night where they're, I think, like 80% of the encounters in here, 85, somewhere in that range. The only other Pokemon you can run into here, and the only one you can run into during the morning and daytime periods, are Rattatas. Ghastly is an incredibly good Pokemon. Ghost Poison type, meaning it's weak to Ghost, Psychic, and Dark exclusively, and immune to Normal and Fighting just because of the Ghost typing. But it has the ability Levitate, meaning it's also immune to ground-type attacks. Really high special attack, even for first phase Pokemon, and really decently high speed, makes the other stats that are relatively low well worth the trouble. I'm catching this for my team just like I did in Crystal. The biggest potential danger is that you can't reach Ghastly's final form without trading with someone else. So if you are playing an older game that doesn't have the ability to trade anymore, or you don't have friends immediately around to trade with, or you don't have another version of the game to trade with yourself with, it might be troublesome to go through raising one of these, because you can't reach its fullest potential, but even then, its second phase is still really good. It's just Ghastly, but better. If anything, the biggest problem about raising a Ghastly is that to start, it doesn't have a very good moveset, because it usually starts with, I think, Lick, Confuse Ray, and at this level, Hypnosis. So its only physical attack can't hit, I think, 2 specific types, and the other 2 are just status moves. So, more turtling. Ghastly, the gas Pokemon. Its body is made of gas. Despite lacking substance, it can envelop an opponent of any size and cause suffocation. Pokedex entries get dark. So let's see, purple, a little bit into the spooky. There's only one person I can think to name this after. Welcome to the team, Mortis. And now I immediately leave because I want to make sure I have all the PP and stuff I need for whatever's going on here. And now for the trainers here in Sprout Tower. If you can't tell by the name Sprout Tower, they all use Bellsprouts. Get used to seeing them. You're probably going to be sick of them by the end of this, honestly. Because I know I am. With that said, because it's all Bellsprouts, we're going to be speeding through all the required fights. Speed up theme for this part is the main battle theme of the original Trails in the Sky. I've been playing through those the past couple months on Twitch. Now I just have to wait for Zero to release in just over a month. And that will date this video very specifically. Now, something I can't remember from when I played Fire Red is the exact speed I tended to keep battles at. Like, I can't remember if I had them at consistent speeds or if it was all to get them under a certain length. I still need to toy around with that because it's been a couple years, frankly. And sometimes I forget how I edit specific things when it comes to that kind of stuff. In fact, the way I tend to edit a game kind of depends on the game entirely. Sprout Tower does kind of highlight a problem I've had with a lot of Pokemon dungeons for a while, and this also comes down to, like, the main Pokemon teams you fight. Fighting the same Pokemon over and over and over again only can be entertaining for so long. I feel like that's why starting at least from memory at least, Gen 3 or 4, they tended to throw a lot of different trainer types at you within dungeons, so you don't fight the same thing over and over again. There's a little more variance going on there. This was more so a problem for Gen 1 and 2. There's always an element of it, though, still, because whenever you have, like, the enemy team, they tend to use, like, the same 5 or 6 Pokemon lines in particular. So I guess it's technically just a matter of they need to work on the variety of Pokemon each trainer class can have. But that's a problem that modern Game Freak still seems to have a problem with. And part of it's probably just because they're pressed for time. Because for some reason, PokeCo wants these games out seemingly yearly instead of, like, making an actual rotation of releases where, like, there's 3 dev teams, each working on a different game for 2 to 3 years at a time. So if you want to get a game out yearly, you at least get, like, here's Team A's game, here's Team B's game, here's Team C's game, so you can just rotate them. Might as well get that commentary on modern Pokemon out at the moment. Although Arceus was good. I never went back to complete that Pokedex, though. I really should. Now, in terms of the moves that Mortis started out with, she started out with Lick, that's a physical attack that has a chance of paralyzing, but since it's Ghost type, it can't hit certain types. Hypnosis is just using Sleep. I think I've already gotten rid of Confuse right at this point, if I even... that just casts Confuse on the opponent. Spite's interesting in that it lowers the move, the PP count of the move the opponent last used by 4. So that could be great for getting rid of like one-hit kill moves or extraordinarily powerful but very inaccurate moves at very quick at the start of a battle if you want to keep that around. Mean Look's one I could recommend keeping around for later on a separate Pokemon not on your main team because that prevents Pokemon from playing bad or being switched out. Mostly good against certain legendaries. This one, by the way, since I fought that one down there, is completely optional. But something interesting happens in this battle. Blaze reaches level 14. And thus, what? Blaze is evolving! Congratulations, your Blaze evolved into Quilava. I've mentioned evolution offhand several times by this point, but when you reach certain conditions with a Pokemon, they can evolve into their next stage if they have one at all. For instance, Blaze will evolve at level 14 because Cyndaquil evolves into Quilava at that point. The usual level for second stage starters is 16. I think the Totodile fits that, as does the Chikorita. Chikorita might be 15. By and large, evolutions, though, they just increase the stats of a Pokemon. Sometimes they'll add a subtype or change a subtype in certain cases. Some Pokemon learn new moves in evolving, they get main stat ups, but you can press B on the evolution animation to cancel it completely, and you might wonder what the reason for that is. Some Pokemon learn moves faster at lower evolutions. For instance, Blaze's next move can be learned at level 19, as Cyndaquil level 20 is Quilava.
You showed us what you got, and it is indeed good. Take this technical machine. However, you should care more about your Pokemon. The way you treat your Pokemon can be too harsh. Remember, Pokemon are not tools of war.
He calls himself the Elder, but he was no match for me. Sure enough, those who lecture how you should be nice to Pokemon, they cannot defeat me. All I care about are strong Pokemon that win every time. The rest of them don't mean anything to me. And an escape rope, hey, at least fight me before you go. Okay, bye. So, Elder, I know you just got your ass beat, but you want to fight?
So good of you to come here. Sprout Tower is a place of training. People in Pokemon test their bonds to build a bright future together. I am the final test. Allow me to check the ties between you and your Pokemon.
And now for a bit of a mini-boss against the Elder, whose name escapes me. Lee. Elderly. Oh, I just got that joke. That's kind of sad. Either way, Elderly, 3 Pokemon, 2 of which are Bellsprout. They both got Vine Whip and Growth. I should note, Bellsprout's main ability to start is Chlorophyll. That will raise the Pokemon who has its speed in direct sunlight. And that mostly means the sunlight battle status, because there's certain moves that can cause the sun to intensify. Here in Sprout Tower, though, nothing can really do that. Which kind of goes into the fact of abilities are game-changing, yes, but some of them do require active work to go into. And hey, I'll give Elderly this. He's the only trainer in here to not have just Bellsprouts. He has a Hoot, Growl, Hypnosis, and Peck. So it can lower your attack, put you to sleep, or just take your eye out with its beak. With that said, I should note this Hoot in particular has the ability Insomnia. I note that because I have Mortis, and therefore I have a move that can inflict sleep. Insomnia prevents the sleep status ailment from being inflicted on Pokemon that have it. Hoot can also have the Keen Eye ability, which prevents accuracy loss from any status-lowering moves. That can be the slightly annoying thing if you're going for specific Pokemon on your team. Sometimes Pokemon can have 2 abilities, and sometimes I think there's even a 3rd hidden ability, although I think those weren't introduced until I want to say Gen 5. The hidden ability, by the way, usually radically better than the other 2 if there are 2 others. The ability a Pokemon has is generated when they show up in battle, in random battles at least. So if you're looking for a Pokemon-specific ability, you just kind of have to keep catching them until you get the one you want. I personally am usually fine with either ability. I can usually adapt to whatever one I'm going for. There's usually only like 1 or 2 Pokemon from memory that I'll go for a very specific ability on. For instance, I'm thinking of one in Gen 5, I try to always go for Moxie on it rather than its other ability. But for instance, like, I know I don't use the Pokemon too much, Bronzor in Gen 4, I could be fine with either of those abilities because both of them are really good for that Mon. I'll get a little more into this as we go, though, but between the physical special split and abilities being introduced a generation prior, Generation 4 and 5, I find, are in a really good place balance-wise. The only real thing that was lacking in Pokemon in Gen 4 and 5 was eventually added in Gen 6 to counter one particular Pokemon type. And since then, I think we've been in a really good place, at least in terms of the main mechanic balances. Whether or not the gimmicks kind of screw that up, we'll get to that when we get to technically the next Pokemon game I cover in main series, but that's that.
Ah, excellent. The way you battle is quite elegant. You should be able to stand up to Falkner. And you should be able to make good use of this. It is a technical machine called Flash. Take it with you.
We got TM70 Flash.
When a Pokemon learns Flash, you can illuminate caves no matter how dark they may be. You can try it on Bellsprout, for example.
And this is why I caught Scott. Because not only can I use Flash on him, I can use another traversal move in a little bit that'll allow me to get around the world a little more easily. With that said, I should note Flash is a TM. TMs teach moves, but they're one use only until Gen 5, I want to say, was where they started being infinite. And frankly, I only use very specific HMs because I just find them to be such a valuable resource to keep around. It's the too good to use rule in some cases, but also some moves just don't fit whatever team you're going with. The ones I tend to use the most are the ones you can buy multiple of, I'm realizing. And they put a free escape rope right here so you can just get the hell out of Dodge. Sprout Tower, that was an overall straightforward first dungeon. It's more so to catch you up in levels for Falkner than anything. I don't even think you need to beat it, because you don't need Flash to beat the game from memory. Because you can just ignore using it on anyone and then just progress all the same. But I am going to take this moment, I believe, to get Mortis up to snuff with Blaze and Kenyan levels. I want to say I get them both up to level 12. I misspoke about doing that last part. But you know, I wonder if walking to this Pokemon Center will make the video quality better. Oh my god, I was right. Yeah, completely just taking the mask off. Starting from this second recording session where it's now daytime on, I am now properly scaling the footage in OBS rather than it just recording at its lowest scale for the size of thing I was recording. So now we're going to see things a lot more crisply. Because, man, it's closer to how it looked on the DS beforehand. At least I think it was, because I want to say the DS was kind of blurry. But this looks better. This looks a lot better. Yo, champ in the making. I'm no trainer, but I can give you some advice. Believe me. If you believe, then a championship dream can come true. You believe? Then listen. The grass type's weak against the flying type. Keep this in mind. Okay then. Thank you. Time for our first gym. And like Brock in Gen 1/Gen 3's remake, you can just ignore all the Pokemon trainers and go straight to the gym leader. With that said, as that man basically stated, this gym specializes in flying-type Pokemon, so if you have any electric-type attacks, if you can get some by this point, which I believe you can just by heading to the south and looking for specific Pokemon, you're going to want those. You can also maybe catch a Geodude before this to have a pretty good advantage going in. And we got a new Pokemon off the start, too. This is Spearow. Normal flying type, so it is weak against Rock, Electric, and Ice, immune to Ground and Ghost. This is more or less a more interesting Pidgey because I think it's a little faster and it's got a bit of a higher physical attack stat, and its evolution is more or less the same. The biggest advantage Pidgey has over Spearow from memory is that it has a second evolution rather than just the first evolution. Personally, from all my experience playing Fire Red, Leaf Green, Beyond, the Spearow line and Pidgey line are pretty much interchangeable for me. I could use either if I wanted to, but I just generally go for other things in my flying-type Pokemon. Like, either I'll have the major flying attack on something that's not a major flying type, or I'll just go for something like the Zubat line that is much more interesting to use type-wise, or a Skarmory later down the line. I tend to go for things that aren't normal flying, as I find they're much more specialized and interesting to use. This bird keeper, by the way, few too many lines of dialogue for, I believe, just having 1 or 2 Pidgeys. Once he's out of the way, though, we are at Falkner, and what I like to do before every single gym leader is save, because losing to a gym leader is very possible, and more or less, most times of the game, I find, for 1 or 2 particular Pokemon per team. And I like to keep my money in as much of one piece as I can, rather than losing some.
I'm Falkner, the Violet City Pokemon Gym Leader. People say you can clip flying-type Pokemon's wings with a jolt of electricity. I won't allow such insults to bird Pokemon. I'll show you the real power of the magnificent bird Pokemon.
I love the Gym 2 Gym Leader theme, and the Heart Gold Soul Silver remix of this is really good. And that said, Falkner starts off with a Pidgey. I think it just has Tackle and Sand Attack Keen Eye, so you can't lower its accuracy. It's a Pidgey. You've already probably fought quite a few at this point. Not much to write home about. Although I do want to make fun of the fact that Falkner keeps calling Flying-type, Bird-type Pokemon, and no, I think I said that very much myself, like a part or two ago. And Bird-type was a type they were planning for Gen 1, but ultimately axed. In lieu of Flying-type being there already. But his more interesting Pokemon is his Pidgeotto, the evolution of Pidgey. Keen Eye for the ability, so no accuracy lowering moves usable. Tackle, Roost, and Gust. Roost restores a large amount of the Pokemon's HP. Gust is just a decently strong flying-type move for this point in the game. Pidgeotto itself, though, as a Pokemon, is just the first evolution of Pidgey. It evolves, I believe, level 18. Which means you are cheating, by the way, Falkner. What the hell? Stat-wise, it's just Pidgey, but better, decent speed. The rest of the stats are just all about equal. It's okay. I want to say Pidgeotto's other ability is a lot more situational, where it can gain accuracy or evasion when it's confused or something like that.
I understand. I'll bow out gracefully.
Ultimately, Falkner's not much of a problem, honestly.
For pity's sake, my dad's cherished bird Pokemon. But a defeat is a defeat. Alright. Take this official Pokemon League badge. This one is the Zephyr badge.
And we get the Zephyr badge. No fancy animation in this game, because reasons.
With that badge, Pokemon, including traded Pokemon up to level 20, will obey you without question. It also enables you to use the hidden move Rock Smash anytime outside of battle.
And we also get a TM for beating every single gym leader.
By using a TM, a Pokemon will instantly learn a new move. Think before you act, a TM can only be used once.
TM51 contains Roost. It restores half the max HP.
There are Pokemon gyms in cities and towns ahead. Make good use of them. As for your next move, I would suggest Azalea Town.
Alright. And I guess they just want you to take a look at the Pokegear map to figure out where Azalea Town is, but there's only really one direction you can go at this point anyway, even though there's 2 route choices in front of you. We can only really go south. Oh, hi, Professor Elm.
Hello, Kyle. We've discovered something. The details are... I really can't say anything, but we want you to carry that egg. My assistant's at the Pokemart in Violet City. Can you go meet him and pick up that egg?
Alright. Sure. So let's just head over to the Pokemart. But we'll also see something interesting here from when I was doing some grinding. This man in red. Good day, Kyle, isn't it? I have a package from your mom. Here you go. Every certain amount of money you earn from battle or a certain time period that passes, your mom will buy certain items for you. Super potions, berries, even a few Pokemon holding items for raising stats or boosting the power of certain moves. Those ones in particular gained, I believe, every 10,000 currency. Even though I'm just probably going to call it Poke from Mystery Dungeon. And the marts themselves sell stuff that gets better the more gym badges you get, but there's not much for me to buy at the moment.
Long time no see, Kyle. I've been waiting for you. This is from Professor Elm. The thing is, we would like you to take care of an egg.
Sure. I love that jingle.
After you left, Professor Elm received a phone call. I have no idea what they were talking about. But after a while, Professor Elm suddenly cried out, I can't think of anyone more suited than Kyle. Then he insisted I hand this egg to you. That's how I came here to deliver the egg to you. It seems that a Pokemon will hatch from it only when you keep it in your party. A Pokemon. That's another reason we've chosen you, Kyle. Please take care of it. So, eggs, we'll be able to get a lot more of these later down the road, but Pokemon hatch them a certain amount of steps that depends on, I think, the egg's type, the parents of the egg, all that stuff. But I believe from my time grinding, it's already pretty close to hatching. Usually, eggs can also be accelerated by having a Fire-type Pokemon in the party, as well as ones that have certain abilities from memory. I'm not messing with eggs overall. Hello there. My, oh my, that egg must be... I see. So it was handed from Mr. Pokemon to Professor Elm, then Professor Elm to you. Now I get it. That egg is truly an important egg. Please do take good care of it for me. Is that understood? Sure. I'm counting on you. Okay, bye. Well, that was weird. Ignoring that then, time for us to move on to our next route. This in particular is Route 36, which we can't really do much in. We're here for one item, but you can normally catch a couple of interesting Pokemon here. We can't progress past because a weird tree is blocking the way to Ecruteak, so, oh well. Yo, haven't you had trouble with a boulder blocking your way? Of course you have. For people like you, there's an HM that'll come to your rescue. This is HMO 6. It contains Make 'em Faint Rock Smash. You can even use it to smash boulders once you've earned the Violet City Gym Badge. But beware, hidden moves like this are hard for your Pokemon to forget once they've learned them. You should think carefully which Pokemon should learn it. HMs are TMs that are infinite use, but the move cannot be forgotten until you reach a very specific NPC towards the 8th Gym Badge in this game. Rock Smash allows you to break certain boulders and get certain items from them and get certain items beyond certain other things. Frankly, I'm going to teach it to Rocky eventually, but for right now, we're just gonna kind of move on. This is the Ruins of Elf. Visitors who are interested in archaeology are welcome. We're not gonna be doing stuff here for a long time, but I figured I might as well show off that it's here and show the cutscene off to start it. There are odd patterns drawn on the walls of the ruins. They must be the keys for unraveling the mystery of the ruins. The ruins are about 1,500 years old. That's all we know about them. But it's not known why they were built, or by whom. Bravo! A promising youth who's about to start the journey of archaeology has just arrived. What? Just a visitor? Oh, I see. You got me excited for nothing. Sorry, guy. Either way, Route 36 does have some interesting Pokemon in it. It's got some Pidgeys, Hoots, and Stantlers at 5% chance, which you can't run into those for a while. The main thing is, if you didn't choose Cyndaquil, you can get a Fire type there depending on your version. Over in Heart Gold, you can get the Growlithe line, and over here in SoulSilver, you get the Vulpix line. So if you want to get a Fire type relatively early, do that there. With that said, they are rare encounters. I want to say about 10% at the lowest, depending on the time of day. If I had to choose one to get, it would probably be Growlithe, but that's just for Heart Gold players. And then I took a moment to go to the Pokemon Center for no real reason. But now we're on Route 32, and I want to run around here for a very specific Pokemon. That is not Ekans, but let's talk about Ekans anyway. Ekans is a pure poison type, meaning that it is weak to ground and psychic. It's got some okay-ish stats for a monotype, but its evolution doesn't really gain enough in a boost of base stats for it to be worth my time in most cases. It's got some fond memories to it from my previous Fire Red playthroughs in the past, and the anime, of course, but not much to worry about. The most interesting thing it's got is one of its abilities is Shed Skin, which I believe is a 33% chance at, I think it's the start or end of a turn, for it to cure any status ailment that's inflicted on it, separate from that status ailment's chance of ending at the start of a turn anyway, which is kind of cool. Not many Mon learn that from my memory either. Now, the Mon I'm really around here looking for is Mareep. Mareep is a pure electric type, meaning that it is weak specifically to just the ground type.
decent special attack for a first form Mon and an okay HP stat. It's noticeably slow and lacking in physical stats. But I do want to catch one of these because by the end of its evolutionary line, it's got a really good special attack stat, it's got some okay defenses, and a decent HP stat to back those defenses up. The biggest drawback of it is that it's still a relatively slow Pokemon by that point. Also pretty useful is its ability Static. Static is a percentage-based chance of inflicting paralysis on opponents that can be paralyzed whenever you get hit with a physical attack. I want to say it's about a 30% chance, it might be 25. Not to mention, it can learn some pretty decent moves by the end of its evolutionary line as well. The biggest thing is going to be keeping all my Pokemon relatively equal level, because that's how I like to play Pokemon. Usually, I keep my Pokemon in their party positions in order of when I caught them, but I will swap out whoever's in first for whoever's the lowest level, and then just turtle them out from there until they're all roughly equal level. Which for this playthrough is a little rough, because we're just past the first gym, we're already catching our 4th main Pokemon. So, whoops. That means we're going to be spread a little thin on experience for a bit, though. Bottom line, I want one. It's going to be joining us. Let's catch this probably first try. Otherwise, why would I just not jump cut to the successful try in a case like this? Mareep is ours. Mareep's data was added to the Pokedex. Mareep, the wool Pokemon. Its fleece grows continually. In the summer, the fleece is fully shed, but it grows back in a week. Fleeces are relatively warm. There's a person that keeps me really warm in my life. Let's name this Pokemon after her. Welcome to the team, Dove. But with that, we're actually going to end a little abruptly here. I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we're going to go along Route 32, reaching our next dungeon in the process. See you guys then.